It means that we punched our ticket to go try to win the Super Bowl, and that's it. We got one game at a time, starting at 1 o'clock on Sunday. Love y'all, boys. Love you. Love you. I go to war with every single one of you, every game, all right? Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Win.
Yeah. Please tell me that I can't, that I won't, that I fail, that I'll never make it out, yeah. Please tell me all the bad, never good, fill my head full of every single doubt, yeah. Please say any negative thoughts, I pop off when I hear people say I cannot. I get off to the thought of proving everyone wrong, I won't stop to the top, so you better back off and get lost. I'ma stay loud, stay proud, never running out, never heading south. I'll be spreading out, call it word of mouth, can't put me down, I'll be getting loud. You can have me douse, not what I'm about, have your fucking cloud. It be raining now, I keep making sound, go another round, bitch I'm legend bound, can't stop me now. You don't wanna fuck with me, a slow burn like a disease. Just tell me that I can and I'll show you things that you couldn't believe. Just tell me that I can. 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 It's showtime.
Welcome to the Mafia Sports Report. I'm your host, Tommy, to the highest degree, to the TOP, from the 313. And by my side, it's my special guest, Dan Mitchell from the Don Mafia Report. What up, Dan?
What's going on, man? How you doing? I just got back from Pittsburgh a couple of days ago. I'm ready to talk a little ball, man. We finally have a good understanding of what this roster might look like, and I'm pumped, man. Thank you so much for having me on.
No, I appreciate you taking the time to come on and talk a little Buffalo Bills football. Let's get to some of the chat real quick, and then we'll get going. Weston Brewster, he's actually a Chiefs fan, but he's been watching my channel for a long time. Believe in Bean Island. Yeah, man, I am the founder and the president, and right next to me, by the way, is the VP. He's the VP. Yep. He's one Indeed. Of the first persons to go on to believe in Bean Island, and he has not left the island. We have a couple other people that are on the island as well, kicking it, having a good time, while the haters are on shore, just pouting away. We'll dive into that anyways. But yeah, believe in me, an island is still kicking, man. Tommy, my boy, what up, Snoopy, man? How you doing, brother? Perfect time. Got my tacos in the oven. There you go. There you go. Shout out West Texas. We got somebody from West Texas in the building. So yeah, there goes the update on the chat. So I wanted to dive into the offseason with you, Dan, man, because I didn't really get to talk to you too much about, the whole Sean McDermott, Brandon Beane talk. So we'll dive into that. We won't stick into it too long because, we got about an hour today, guys, with you. So I want your thoughts on, first, the firing of Sean McDermott. What went through your mind? Did you see that happening? And then your thoughts on Brandon Beane not being let go and actually getting promoted.
So I got to tell you what, man, that playoff loss to me against the Denver Broncos, I was pretty adamant about putting the vast majority on Josh Allen, right? I mean, when you go into that game and you turn the ball over 4+ times, that's an issue, right? Like, you were to take one of those turnovers off of the board, who knows? We could have very well, been playing for a Super Bowl like in just 3 weeks later. But at first, when McDermott got fired, I was under the impression that he wasn't going anywhere. I thought him and Brandon Beane were sort of a package deal. But once it did happen, I was concerned that I was going to hear that Brandon Beane was next. I am probably one of the few, including yourself, obviously, that thought that Brandon Beane has been a very good GM for what he has been able to do as far as like getting guys back into the building on great deals contractually, but then also, for the most part, dominating drafts, particularly more so when you get into the value rounds, round 3 through round 7. Hence why we saw so many players in the past, right? Like, you would notice the fan base would go out and say, oh, man, like, watch, like, Milano's going to have to go, or like Shaq Thompson is going to have to go. Like, key players that we were all concerned we were going to have to say goodbye to. He was able to find ways of maintaining that said roster. I always thought that the roster was fine, but it had a lot to do with some gaffes that occurred in the playoffs. So when I saw that McDermott was gone, and then I started diving deeper into how awful our defense has performed in key moments, like, I'm pretty sure I ran across something where playoff defenses in losses averaged about 33 points per game. It was some of the most disgusting numbers you could see. So
Correct.
while I saw that, happy what McDermott was able to do for this organization. He broke the drought. That's fantastic. But eventually you need to look yourself in the mirror and ask, how many more years can we realistically give this guy and anticipate results? Last year, we had a perfect opportunity of finally making it at the very least to the big game with the Kansas City Chiefs suffering a down year. And it was the exact happened each and every single year. Our defense pisses down its leg. So I got over it pretty fast, Tommy.
Okay. I'm 100% with you. So my thing with the whole McDermott thing, and everybody knows, I just wasn't a fan of the coach. I was a fan in the beginning, but I lost it with him after the 2021 13-second game. I wanted him fired then. I think he should have been fired then. It was a game where we had it and the coach blew it, in my opinion. And obviously the defense as well, but the coach is responsible for that. So like you said, if you go back into these playoff losses, the defenses, I think they have allowed 32.5 points per game, which is wild. You're expecting your offense to be at an elite level every time you reach the playoffs. For me, the teams that win the Super Bowl, for the most part, are well-rounded. If you look at Seattle, Seattle was well-rounded. What happened in the Super Bowl, Dan? The offense didn't get going for Seattle. So later in that game, but what did the defense do? The defense had their back. The defense held Newton in check. And what happened? Seattle's offense got going right in the third quarter. And that's it. They won a Super Bowl just like that. So you have to have a complementary team. You have on both sides of the ball. And McDermott preached that, but it didn't ever really happen that way. So I felt a scheme was broken. Yep. Go ahead.
So did you see that interview that came out from Ty Dunn? I wanted to say he had a guest on, I believe, was in his most recent article or maybe in his most recent interview, where apparently during head coaching interviews, that would come out, particularly when they were talking to defensive-minded head coach candidates, almost all of them said McDermott's defense was wildly predictable in the playoffs. This is what we saw. Leonard said that apparently. I think Spags said that as well. He was just like, yeah, we almost knew what was coming instantaneously from a situational perspective. And when you reflect back on it, the second Buffalo had even any stretch of a lead whatsoever, he started transitioning over into let's play not to lose rather than play to win from the defensive side of things, right?
Correct.
And that's ultimately what ended up biting us in the ass. We heard it from Jerry Hughes as well.
Yeah,
big storyline that came out the second that McDermott was fired. He was just like, yeah, I had to get out of 13 seconds. I realized that dude wasn't serious. So what frustrates me too is that once he was gone, you would think that he had hundreds of thousands of relatives going up and being like, oh my God, how dare you fire Sean McDermott? But if you were to go to their own specific social media profiles and you were to search the term fire Sean McDermott, you probably would have seen it at least 5 times within the past 3 years. I don't understand how he had so many fans that just came out of the woodwork. I really don't.
I don't either, because and the other thing too that I got was, because he had his best season in quite some time. So did he win the Super Bowl? No,
he didn't.
So I don't care. Right. So I could care less if that. And to be honest with you, if that was his best season in quite some time, that's not saying a lot, because the defense still got shit all over when it counted when we needed them the most. So what was so great about the season? We didn't even win the division. So how was it his best season to date? We lost against teams we shouldn't have lost against, Miami Dolphins. So you know what I mean? So I don't understand the whole that concept.
My theory was that he tended to overcorrect. From my understanding, what I think Sean McDermott didn't like was allowing explosive plays. right? He hated
Correct.
allowing explosive plays from opposing offenses. Hence why we had such an atrocious third down defense for as long as I possibly could remember. How many times, reflecting back, can we remember a 3rd and 15, a 3rd and 11, a 3rd and 12, and you have all of our DBs playing off coverage, 7 yards, like behind the line of scrimmage, and just playing wildly conservative? He was obsessed with hoping his secondary could come away with a turnover rather than being super aggressive on those third down situations. It worked for the most part, right? Because you have a unicorn quarterback on the other side that can almost score on will. But once you got into playoff football, that was something that needed to be changed, and he just never did.
Yeah, and speaking of that, I mean, go back to the Broncos game, right? For as poorly as the offense played at times, because I don't think it was that bad. We still scored 30 points with the 5 turnovers. 30 points, Dan, should win you a game, and it should win you a game. I'm going to be real with you. It should win you the game.
Yeah, you should win more games.
Right, you should. If you told me we scored 30, right. I mean, come on, folks. So that's one, too. If you go back to that last series of Denver, or the drive that put them ahead when we went up 4, they had 3 minutes to go. I believe there was 2 or 3 times that on that drive was 3rd and long, and we gave up those 3rd and long passes to Denver. That we had them on a 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10 on that drive. I believe there was at least 2. There could have been 3. So once again, the defense fell short, and then not only did they, people want to rip us for not, for Allen missing that pass, and he probably should have hit it for Knox, but we still went up 4, right? The defense, all they had to do was their job, right? If they do their job there, we win that ball game, plain and simple. Denver runs out of time. Buffalo moves on to the next round, and who knows? I think we beat the Patriots because the Patriots offense was terrible in the playoffs. Let's be real. So they had a real opportunity to go to the Super Bowl if they beat Denver. But that part is over. Now, real quick, Weston says he wants me to tell you about the Ravens fan. So I have a Ravens fan here that comes in here and there. He's been the subscriber of the show, but he came in talking shit after the draft. I did a show about how garbage our GM is, trash roster. And I want your opinion on this because I went off on
you
it.
said that, or this guy was saying that?
The Ravens fan said this. So he came into my chat saying trash GM, trash roster. And I went off on him saying, look, man, let's be real here. If we're going to talk about, rosters and drafts, we're giving all these grades and we're shitting all over the Bills drafts and all over, fans not happy with our drafts, not happy with our rosters. When you look at the AFC, right, and you look at the big dogs, the elite quarterbacks, when we talk about Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, and Jackson, right? Let's just say those are the elite top tier in the AFC, right? There's no questioning that, right? Like, for most people understand this. So what team has done the most with their elite quarterback? It's Kansas City Chiefs, right? Without doubt, right? Outside of that, though, with these elite quarterbacks, including ours, what have they done? Nothing. There's Super Bowl wins. The last Super Bowl AFC winner before Mahomes was Tom Brady in New England. Outside of that, Baltimore hasn't done shit. Cincinnati hasn't done shit, right? And let's be honest, the Bills. However, you can't come in here if you're a Ravens fan, a Bengals fan, a Dolphins fan, talking about, shit GM, shit roster, because I look at the Ravens and go, okay, what have you done? You have an elite quarterback, same as the Bills. So you can't come back and say, well, you guys only make the playoffs because of Josh Allen. He's the only reason that you guys are even where you're at. Okay, what about the Ravens? You could say the same thing about Baltimore, but yet Baltimore hasn't even beaten Buffalo in the playoffs. So why are we the shit roster? Why are we the shit draft? If you guys are nailing every single thing, what is your problem? Then what is holding you guys back, right, from getting to a Super Bowl? Why are you coming on here talking trash? If you're a Cincinnati fan, same thing. You have an elite quarterback. You have 2 elite receivers, in my opinion, right? What have you done? So nobody has a right to say anything when it comes to rosters and how great their drafts are through the years. when they haven't done anything with them. Like I'm a true believer in that. So, all these people that are grading the drafts and how throughout the years, what have they done with them? And what is what I'm saying, Dan. On paper, they look great. When we look at the rosters, you look at Baltimore's roster last year, right, Dan? Before the season started, they were Super Bowl favorites on some people had them. They didn't even make the playoffs. So what's their excuse? I know what mine was. Mine was Sean McDermott was a bad head coach for this team in the playoffs. He was a bad playoff coach with the defense that was just not very good. That's it. Outside of that, though, do I think my team's trash? Do I think my GM's trash? Do I think our roster's trash? The answer is no, Dan, because we have proven so. Listen, the point is, this is the NFL is a true team sport. It's great to have an elite quarterback, and that helps, right? Yeah. But you have to have a complete roster in order to make it to the playoffs each and every year. In order to make it to division or championship rounds, you have to have everybody doing their job. That's my point. These other teams that people are high praising, they often miss the playoffs or they don't get far in the playoffs. So I don't know why anybody would come in here and talk trash unless you're a Chiefs fan that you haven't done shit. So what's your thoughts on that? Sorry, long-winded.
No. My thing is, man, like you look at like consistent playoff teams and just look at some of their previous draft classes. I'm talking about consistent playoff teams, not teams that make it 1 year, miss it for 2, make it 2 years in a row, miss it for 3. One thing this Buffalo Bills roster has proven time and time again is the fact that we are hands down the most consistent football team when it comes into making into the playoffs. Yeah. And I think that should tell you a lot about what this roster is. We very clearly focus on the trenches, which is very, very important. It's clear that Baltimore wanted to do the exact same thing last year. But how I look at a lot of these trolls, right? 9 times out of 10, they're 14 years old, right? And they're just sitting behind an anonymous account because they know that there's no consequences in real life. They don't know ball, right? Like, I'd be able to throw up some all-22 and they wouldn't be able to tell me a single thing about what the formation looks like offensively, what defensive coverage was happening or whatnot. But look, as Bills fans, we're clearly upset that we haven't been able to make the big game. But one thing I always like responding to people is, I mean, so unless you're a New England Patriots fan or unless you're a Chiefs fan or maybe a Philadelphia Eagles fan, how much success has the rest of the league truly had? Like, so many people talk about like, oh, like you haven't won a Super Bowl. Like, let's not act like this is a walk in the park. There's literally been 3 to 4 teams that have won the big game in the past 15-year span. All right. Correct. So it's, and like, look at all the contenders right now. Would you say that the LA Rams had a good draft this year? No. Right. Would you say that the San Francisco 49ers had a good draft this year? No. Did the Jacksonville Jaguars have a good draft this year? Absolutely not. Did the Buffalo Bills? We're going to get to that later on the show. But it's very oftentimes like when you see teams hit grand slam home runs, like right in draft classes, it means that their team was absolute dog shit the year before. How many years have we walked away saying that the Jets or the Browns won the draft or won the offseason?
I'm so glad you said that, Dan. I said the same. I mentioned
How many years have we seen the Jets and the Browns win the offseason? Every year of my life. Every single year of my life.
Right. Top 10 draft picks. Right. Yeah. They're in the beginning of each round. Right?
And so I hope that the Ravens had a good draft, especially since they weren't a playoff team last year. I hope that they did. I genuinely hope that they did. When you're a good football team, you're very oftentimes picking after 25, something the Buffalo Bills have done for God knows how long. Correct. Super Bowls aren't built in the draft.
No.
Super Bowls aren't built in year 1 production from the NFL draft. It's just how it is.
Yeah, no, listen, dude, I mentioned, I'm glad you said that because I mentioned the same thing on a previous podcast I did. I said, look, when we talk about, you look back at all these amazing drafts, right? Grade A. Woo, look at all these players they got. Guys, what have they done with them? That's my whole point. Like, people complain and people are sour. And look what this team did. Look what they did. What a great GM. But the point is, what are they doing with them? What have they shown? Right? Because we're talking about teams that have been, like Dan said, if you go back, the Jets, grade A, all these years, right? They're great. Everything.
And they've got an A in every single draft class for the past 5 years.
Right. But what has happened? What have they done with them? And by the way, they're getting top 10 picks. It's not like they're grading A with, where we're selecting, right? And they're just nailing it every time. Guys, and that's not an excuse. I'm not saying that, we should be compared to another team, but the point being is you could look great on paper and you can go by with what other people grade a draft, including myself, but that doesn't always transition into the football, into the game, into the field, right? It doesn't always work that way. Ask the Baltimore Ravens from last year who had what? How many Pro Bowlers? 6, 7, 8? I don't even fucking know. Right? But what did that do for them? Zilch, nothing. They didn't even make the playoffs. And they had an elite quarterback. So you can't even use the excuse that Baltimore doesn't have a Josh Allen on the team. They do. They have an elite quarterback. And once again, with all these players that we're all, that people want to bow down to, what do they do with them? You know what I'm saying? So for us, if you want to say our roster is trash and our draft picks are trash, but yet we're constantly making the playoffs over teams that are getting these great rosters together, I don't know. What does that tell you? You know what I mean?
Something I feel like Ravens fans are having a very difficult time understanding, and something that they will refuse to admit, is Lamar elite? Yeah, but only in the regular season. Why the Baltimore Ravens continuously fail in the playoffs is due to the consistent piss poor performances from their quarterback. That's what it is. It's a very difficult pill to swallow. And there's been a couple of games where Josh Allen has pissed down his leg, and he was the reason why Buffalo lost a particular playoff game. But 2, maybe out of the 7 losses he has had so far, very oftentimes you can account that toward the head coach. With Lamar Jackson, he is known for just pissing down his leg.
That is true. That is true.
That's why we call him the regular season Jackson.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that's true. I will say he did better. He did better the year before. He did better in 2024 against us. I thought he played a really good game.
Yeah,
against us. He started off a little rocky, but he did have it. So I'm not going to totally kill him on that particular game. But you are right. If you're going to look at the consistency of play, Josh Allen has been far better playoff quarterback than Lamar. So let's move on because we're about 25 minutes into the show. Let's get to the offseason, right? Free agency and trade. So the first big move we make is trading for DJ Moore from Chicago. Fans are torn on it, right? As usual, cannot please Bills Mafia, right? We begged for a receiver. We wanted a receiver. We get one. Not good enough. So what's your thoughts on the trade for DJ Moore?
Personally, I have no idea why Beane was unable to execute a 7th round pick for Jamar Chase. Tommy, I have no idea how he was unable to pull that off. The worst GM in the NFL. Let me tell you what.
Terrible.
So I'll tell you what, with DJ Moore, say, for example, that Buffalo were to make an in-season trade for DJ Moore last year, this city would be exploding with excitement. They would have been going insane, and more than likely, he probably would have helped us tremendously offensively. How I look at DJ Moore is like people just look at the box score and they think, oh, like look at his targets, look at his yards, what happened with him. And one thing I like to point out is, number one, he was clearly unhappy with the Chicago Bears. How many times have we seen clips of him just walking off of the field, right? Like when he wasn't targeted, just did not look bought into this organization whatsoever. He was vocal about the Bears walking away from Justin Fields. He was unhappy with them doing so. And then the year afterwards, he had to work with a rookie quarterback who struggled his rookie season. With Caleb Williams had a rough first season as a rookie.
Correct.
He was still able to flirt with around 1,000 yards. And then in 2025, you have a Ben Johnson offense, which is entirely different of what Eberflus was running, where he just liked to run the football and attack the middle of the field. He was just not a fit for that offense anymore. So you had him in his final year with Justin Fields, where he did very well over 1,000 yards. Him and Fields just like had that connection. Then you get a rookie quarterback whose head coach gets fired middle way of the season. 3 different offensive play callers, I think, happened in Chicago at that one point in 2024. And then you get a Ben Johnson offense, which if you watch the Lions offense back when Ben Johnson was there, it was almost identical to what they ran. He really didn't like perimeter wide receivers. He loved operating with the slot, like with Amon-Ra St. Brown, exact same reason why he loved Luther Burden, exact same reason why he liked Rome Odunze as well, why he liked his tight ends. But when you look at it from a granular perspective, he's still dominating against man coverage. And the one thing I think Bills fans have been desperate for have been, okay, we need a wide receiver that can come down with a ball, with a big play in a crunch time moment. And while his targets weren't there in 2025, while his yards weren't there, he was their answer. When you targeted DJ Moore in a crunch time situation over in Chicago, he came down with that ball. That's something I don't think Josh Allen has ever had in his career, has he? I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong.
I would say early on, Stephon Diggs was that guy. There was a couple games, like the Detroit Lions game sticks out. And the Thanksgiving game where it was a crucial catch by Diggs. And, there's other games too. Playoffs. But I would say, playoffs, one time. And it was Gabe Davis.
Yeah.
Out of everyone.
Should have been Brandon Cooks. Should have been Brandon Cooks, but, I mean, I think that's
should have been, could have been, would have been.
And for a different time. Yeah. And for a different time. But so with DJ Moore, man, listen, he is the outside X and wide receiver number 1 that we have been looking for. And again, guys, like, look, sometimes I feel like people have a very skewed definition of what a wide receiver number 1 is. All right. I'm pretty convinced that most people think that. So if your name's not, so with Amon-Ra St. Brown or Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson, you are not a wide receiver number 1. And that's just not right. It's just not true. He's very big. And with that recent addition in Skyler Bell, this is a very good room.
So here's my thoughts on DJ Moore. And you pretty much hit the nail on the head with most of what you said there. For me, what have we been missing? And I'm going to say just the last 2 years to be nice, but really for a while now. But what have we been missing the last 2 seasons without Stephon Diggs? We've been missing a go-to guy when we need a play to be had, right? Who was our guy, right? When we need a big play to be had, and Josh Allen needs needs a guy he can count on. I don't know, right? And that's a problem when you can't say I don't know, Shakir, is it Kincaid? Like, those are all, that's not good enough when we're having to really think about, right, to go, who could it be, right? That should never be an issue, right? But it was. And now you have a guy in DJ Moore who absolutely is a guy that Allen's going to count on, rely on, and is going to be there. If you look at DJ Moore's career and what I love about it, and I often go back to my favorite player, which is Eric Moulds, right, of all time, my favorite Bill player of all time. And the reason why I put him in such high regards is because of what he had to go through while he was here in Buffalo. He put up outstanding numbers with 7 different starting quarterbacks, with multiple different OCs, multiple different head coaches, and still put up numbers, right? That tells me a lot about the player, right? So when you look at DJ Moore, he had 9 different starting quarterbacks throughout his career. 9, right? He's had, 4 different head coaches, right? Multiple OCs, actually 5 different head coaches, right? And yet his numbers are outstanding if you look at his numbers, right? So go back to look at his numbers. DJ Moore through, let's see. So 2018 rookie year, 788. 2019, 1175. 2020, 1193. 2021, 1157. 2022, 888. 2023, 1364. And 2024, 966. And I think last year was a little shade under 900, right? Or 700, 800, whatever it was. But still, those are consistent numbers to me. Working with pretty bad quarterback play, right? Once again, I can go over the quarterbacks and you're going to be like, what the fuck, right? Cam Newton at the end of his career, Kyle Allen, we know about him. Tyler Haneke, Teddy Bridgewater, Sam Darnold, PJ Walker, Baker Mayfield, but all guys that weren't fit in the system. Justin Fields, Tyson Bagent. Come on, man. So give the guy some credit here. I don't sleep on Tyson Bagent.
All right, that's my guy.
Right. And then if you look at last year where everyone's like, oh, his numbers. Guys, go ask any Bears fan, like a true Bears fan, because I've spoken to a few. Go watch even highlights. When they needed a play, a must-have play, who were they going to? DJ Moore. Who came up with that play? DJ Moore. Matter of fact, DJ Moore won like some kind of award for having the biggest play of the season against, I think it was against the Packers, right? So
it was the Nickelodeon VP.
Yeah, you're right. So listen, man, I think for the fans that are torn on DJ Moore, or not really truly excited about DJ Moore, is going to change their feelings once they see DJ Moore in action, what he can do for this team. So I'm excited about DJ Moore. I don't think it was a bad trade. You know, that's the other thing I keep hearing. Oh, terrible trade. Like, not really. Second round. You know, the pay.
We got all our picks back.
Exactly. So the pay.
Got we got like all of our picks back.
Correct.
So multiple trade downs we had in the first.
I just don't hate it. So you don't hate it. I don't hate it. I know some fans are still torn on it, but I think they'll get over it once they see his production and what he can do. Right now, let's go with the free agency. I want to know your opinion on the guys we brought in: Bradley Chubb, CJ Gardner-Johnson, D. Alford, Geno Stone, Sam Franklin, and then Kyle Allen. And quarterback, we also brought in Cushenberry, Corbett, and Trent Sherfield. What's your thoughts on those guys?
So I'll tell you what, man. My grade for the NFL draft and my grade for free agency are entirely different. But when you combine all of it, as far as what our total offseason grade was, free agency and that trade carries it, right, in my opinion. And we'll get to the draft here shortly. But talk about like attention to detail. And funny enough, like, we're not even done with free agency. Now we're getting to a point where the second wave of free agency begins, where NFL teams are free to sign free agents without a single comp formula affecting this, you know, sort of future draft, if you will. So love CJ Gardner-Johnson. Like, talk about, you realize you had an issue, and that was the safety room as far as depth purposes. I think CJ Gardner-Johnson brings a lot to the table, specifically when it comes into coverage. We always talk about how Cole Bishop himself, man, he is the sort of safety, I think, that is better utilized, you know, closer to the box, right? Like, he's like that downhill, let me go on ahead and tackle, and let me go on ahead and sort of help out. And so with this run defense, where CJ Gardner-Johnson, I would feel very comfortable with him being your single high safety in coverage situations. He is there for me. With Stone from Cincinnati, he was like public enemy number one for a lot of Bengals fans, but I feel better about him being a depth piece than Damar Hamlin. I know that we have Hamlin on this team again. I don't know how much longer he will be on this team with us drafting, you know, with Kilgore as well. But love what we did with that safety room. I feel like we were able to address that entire need right within this offseason. With Kyle Allen, I mean, it's a backup quarterback.
Yeah, that's what we do, by the way.
And so regardless of what team you are on, if your starting quarterback goes down, you're probably fucked. It's just how it is. So I feel like indifferent with that one. And then with Bradley Chubb, I mean, look, we haven't been able to get to the quarterback for as long as I have been a Buffalo Bills fan. It's been so long since we have had a quality edge rusher.
Floyd, I guess, was the last one-year guy.
Floyd, I guess he barely cracked 10, like
10 and a half.
But I mean, with Bradley Chubb, I mean, as long as he can stay healthy, I mean, I hope that he can get closer to his ceiling. I feel like this is Groundhog's Day, because we were having the same conversation with Bosa last year, right? Where, like, we said, oh yeah, if he could just stay healthy and he gets back to where he was, and
I had a different thought on that. Like, I don't know about you on Bosa, but I wasn't happy with the Bosa signing initially. I didn't hate it, but when I look at players like that, right, and I look at players like Bradley Chubb, my problem with Bosa was a few things. One was obviously his injury history. And two, even when he was healthy, his production wasn't really there, right?
Yeah.
With Bradley Chubb, what pops up with the red flag is injury history. However, production is still there, right? When healthy, he produces. Go look what he's done in Miami right when he got to Miami.
Yeah.
I think it was 11.5 sacks, and then he got hurt, and then he had 8.5 sacks, right, when he came back. And then even last year, he was productive. So I look at that as a plus. If he could stay healthy, he's going to give us production, unlike Bosa, who gave us early production, but just like in, when he was in LA, it slowed down. It fizzled out. And then you saw Bosa didn't give us much in the playoffs because by then he fizzled out. That's age and whatever's going on with him. Injuries obviously probably creeped up too. So for me, look, it's a 3-year deal. That's a 2-year out. I think it's a good signing for a guy that if he can stay healthy, he's going to produce. So I'm cool with that. I'm definitely cool with that. One thing I did forget to mention or talk to you about was, what do you feel about the new coaching staff, including Joe Brady? Because we skipped that. So real quick, we won't stay on long, but what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, man. So with Leonard, a grand slam home run for me. Like, he was the one guy
Absolutely.
I wanted attached to this defense. I felt like we needed a change, right? Most of like these young hotshot, like defensive minded head coaches are like having that 3-4 identity, like more aggressive and in your face type defense. And it's working, right? And
Right.
I loved what he did over there with that secondary in Denver. Was highly touted back when he was in college over in Wisconsin. I thought that was the best move because it was such the opposite of what Sean McDermott and Babich were bringing to the table last year. So I loved Leonard. As far as Brady was concerned, I'll be honest with you, he wasn't like my top choice. I was kind of hoping that like we could have gotten Clint Kubiak as well, but he made it to the Super Bowl. It would have taken so long for us to go on ahead and get him into the building. He would have had maybe 2 or 3 weeks to prepare for free agency and the draft, what have you. But with Brady, it doesn't particularly kill me because, number one, he's still maintaining offensive play calling responsibilities. There's still continuity to a sense. And as much as we would like to downplay what this offense did in 2025, we were still flirting with 30 points per game, right? These guys know Joe Brady. We're going to see whether or not that Sean McDermott had any say at all with his play calling in 2025. I'm really curious to see if maybe some of the times Brady looked conservative with offensive play calling was him just trying to make the boss happy, or whether or not that's truly who he is. We'll find out by week 1. But, and so I wasn't upset. At all.
Okay. Yeah. So for me, initially, I was not pleased. Did not like the Brady hire. I felt like they should have went in a different direction. But with that being said, once they started building the staff, the coaching staff, it totally flipped the script for me. When I look at that staff, right, the ones that stick out, Leonard, right away. Upcoming head coach, young, has a lot of potential to be a really good DC in this league, right? Pete Carmichael, right? He brings over Carmichael, who's a guy he's worked with as OC, been around football for a long time. Love that hire as well, because you got a young play caller in Joe Brady, who's going to be calling the plays as a head coach, but you got an offensive coordinator who you can, go back and forth with, who would actually be the OC. And then you got a lot of young coaches coming in the coaching staff. A lot of guys coming from college, got a lot of high praise, coming from these coaches that are potential future OCs, DCs, and future head coaches in the NFL. That's how high praise they are. So I love that. And then, of course, bringing in John Fox, who I think is such a great addition. And some people are just, they don't talk about it, but I feel like when you look at that guy's body of work and what he did, and yes, he didn't win a Super Bowl. However, he turned franchise around quickly. Denver and Carolina both got him to a Super Bowl. Yep. Yes, he didn't win, but that's better than what Sean McDermott did here. And we're not asking him to be the head coach. We're asking him to be a senior assistant for a very young coaching staff, right? And he's also a defensive mind. So a guy that can kind of just, give his info to Brady and Leonard when needed. And I love it. So we have a young coaching staff with a lot of upside, and we have a John Fox, a guy that can actually, lean towards when they have questions. I just love it. I love the coaching staff, and it made me change my opinion on the Brady hire. So I'm excited for it. I'm excited to see this Leonard's defense because I think yes, it's a 3-4, but I think it's going to be very he's going to throw a lot of different looks. There's going to be motion on defense. Like, it's just going to look different than what you've been seeing with the 4-3 soft zone kind of nickel that Sean McDermott was running, right? It's going to be way more aggressive. And now we'll get into the draft because we are 40 minutes in. I don't want you to be too long. I know you got other stuff to do. Dan is a busy guy, by the way, guys. Dan is the hardest working Buffalo Bills content creator.
Oh, thank you.
Out there, dude. So I'm not going to kill you on too much more time. So let's get to the draft.
Let's do it.
And so the Buffalo Bills trade out of the first round, as we know. And it was really the plan all along. If you look at Brandon Beane's press conference before the draft started, he was pretty much telling you there's just not a lot of blue chippers here, right? We just let's be real. Like, he said it without saying it, but we all know what he meant, right? And when I went on your show, I didn't see. I agreed with you, and the smart move would be to trade back, but I didn't see a trade partner because I felt like more teams were seeing what Brandon Beane was seeing, right? Yeah. And there could only be so many teams that would be willing to trade up at that spot at 26.
Great partners.
And it winded up being 3. And you know what I think would happen, Dan, in that scenario? I think Beane talked about it, is I think he got a call initially, and then what happened, or he caught multiple calls, and then probably a team that called him initially, he chose somebody else to trade with, and they probably called him back because they're picked and they get picked up by the team that initially traded for the Bills. And then Beane could play a little bit more hardball, going, okay, they must really want this player. Why call back, right? That selection probably didn't get selected, right? So now you're calling for the 28th pick, right? I'm just guessing because now you can play hardball. So if the same team calls you back after, right, they're desperate for whoever they're trying to move up to get, right? So I think that's why he kept getting these really good, because as you notice, like the first 26, he didn't get a lot back in return, but the next 2 is where we started getting a lot in return. But I loved it because really, honestly, for me, there was 2 players that I would have selected there. It was Casey Consumpcion, which I still was on. I was still like not totally sold on him. And then it was McDonald, who I was sold on, no doubt about it. I wanted McDonald, didn't happen, moved out the second round. We talked about this. So we moved to the second round, and we draft McDonald. No, we draft TJ Parker. We draft TJ Parker. What's your thoughts? Talk to me.
All right. So, it's full transparency. I was very upset with the first 3 selections of this draft class, right? And it's unfair sort of lay down the hammer on an organization without seeing these guys play ball. For all we know, these guys are going to be future pieces of this team for a very long time. But I feel like with the Buffalo Bills going into this draft class was a backwards mentality. They ended up prioritizing developmental depth, hopes that these guys could eventually end up having 60 to 70% of all of the snaps in year 2 or year 3, rather than targeting players that could potentially come in and play and give year 1 type production. For me, when we traded down and I saw Caden McDonald was still on the board, I saw that player and I was just like, okay, he would be plugged and played at nose tackle almost instantaneously. And I understand that people are saying, okay, he would only be a first and second down, like type
2 down player.
Yeah.
Right.
But I mean, that's when teams were running 4 to 5 yards a carry on us, was on those first and second downs. I thought that was big. Some people might say, hey, like you're only ever going to be in base about 30% of the time. Like, why do we need somebody like that? I feel like people don't understand how often we got destroyed on those first and second down situations.
Massive.
We got destroyed on the first and second down situations, guys. Like, and when we did get into third and long, all right, we got gashed there as well. So
correct.
That's why, like, in my eyes, like when I was sitting there at second, I saw Caden McDonald go off of the board. And then like 6 or 7 picks later, I see Jacob Rodriguez go off of the board, followed by CJ Allen went off of the board, right? In my eyes, and granted, I'm not in the room, I would have certainly focused on players that could potentially go in and be a day one starter for us. Because with TJ Parker, like, he's solid, I guess. Let's hope that he can get back to his 2024 production. But realistically, what are the percentage of snaps he's going to see in 2026 if everybody stays healthy? 30, 40, right? Then you go down to IGB, all right? So the cornerback we traded up for in the second to grab, right? I said leading up into the draft class that we needed, and like, so to find depth, right, for perimeter corner. I'm glad we did, but I would have much preferred if we were to wait until day 3 to find that kind of thing, right?
Right.
What are the percentage of snaps that IGB is going to see in 2026? I would argue 25 situationals, right? I felt like we drafted that player because there might be a chance that somebody will get hurt and he can save us, all right? For me, I don't know about that.
Okay.
Just make a call to like Trey White and see if he can come back to the team if you're that nervous about depth, all right? Then you can go on ahead and find the pride in which we got right in the 6th and the 7th, what have you. And then for the third, so as an offensive tackle and an offensive guard, like combine, I get it. You miss Ryan Vandermark. I get it. You miss Ryan Vandermark. But again, how many snaps is he going to see in 2026, man? He's going to see like 15% of the snaps. So when I look at our first 3 selections, I'm sitting here saying, okay, like, you didn't want to roll the dice on Caden McDonald. Even if you were against the nose tackle, why not roll the dice on Jacob Rodriguez? Why not roll the dice on CJ Allen? Why not roll the dice on Trotter, for example? Like, why couldn't we go for somebody that at least would have the potential of being able to play 80% of the snaps plus? So they put a lot of focus on maybe the future, I guess, where I probably would have went in a different direction. But as far as day 3, I was pleased, though.
Okay.
So I was happy about Skyler Bell. I was happy about, you know, like
the safety, the linebacker.
I really,
Kilgore.
Really yeah. Right. So I gave the draft a C+.
Okay.
Love day 3. Love day 3. I thought that he was hitting home run after home run after home run, but I felt like that this team's mentality going into the draft was backwards, where they should have been focusing on depth on day 3, and they should have been focusing on actual positional need on day 1 and day 2.
Okay. I see it a little bit different. So, you know us, like, or just any content creator, when you're watching a live, like the draft live, right? And you have a player in your head that you really want or you feel strongly about, and the Bills don't draft them, you're disappointed. Your body language shows it. You just don't. You're trying to, because you're live, right? So you don't really have gathered time to really think about why the move was made, why they draft until the next day, and you kind of go, okay, maybe this is why. Maybe the defensive scheme is why. Maybe they're going to plug him here, and so it's tough on live reactions because you don't have a lot of time to really sit down and watch the film on these guys and understand why. So same thing with when we do like we go live right after a Bills game, right? Sometimes we miss a lot of things and we're reacting to stuff that maybe we were wrong about. So the next day you come and you talk about the Bills game again and you're like, correct yourself. Hey, I watched all 22 and actually this player did better than I thought, right? So that's how I feel about it. That's why I tell people all the time is, once the dust settles, go back and look at each player that we drafted, and then see what his strengths are, weaknesses, watch the film on these guys, and then also take in consideration what this new scheme is about. So when I look at like Parker, we'll go with Parker first. Like for me, here's a guy that was elite run defender, edge run defender in the college level, like one of the top dogs out there. What were we bad at, right? Really bad at run defense, right? Poor up the middle, on the side. The only side that we really held down was what side? Groot, right? Groot is one of the best, right? So now you get a guy like TJ Parker who's coming out of college as one of the best edge run defenders in college coming into the NFL. Who's only going to get better, in my opinion. You have Bradley Chubb here, who is on a 3-year deal, really 2-year deal, who also is another guy that, let's be real, has injury history, right? And hopefully he doesn't. Hopefully he stays good here. But that's a guy that no matter what is probably not leaving after 2 years. Here's your future right here, right? Also, he's going to be a rotation his first year. He's going to have some snap count. And who knows how much snap count under this new defense that Jim Leonard's throwing out there, right? So that's another thing. We don't know yet, right? He could have higher snap count than you really think, or the rotation, right? And I also feel like Bradley Chubb is not going to get this high snap count either. He may be the starter, but because of his age is starting to get up there, his injury history, it's not going to be as high a snap count as you guys might think. That's one. That's on TJ Parker. And I feel like he can get better at his pass rush as well. Very long arms. He has a lot of upside. 2024 season, you mentioned it. If he would have came out in the 2025 draft, he would have been probably the best edge coming out of the draft. And in this draft, a lot of people had him as a first round talent. So I don't feel like that's a terrible pick. However, with that being said, for me, and I agree with you on my personal feelings, I would have went McDonald or Jacob Rodriguez. Yep. And I think I'm more strongly on Jacob Rodriguez because I feel like that dude is just a high IQ player, physical, everyone on the field, knows how to read a quarterback. He's just everything you want in a linebacker. And I feel like he would have been a really great fit here in Buffalo, right? But it didn't happen that way. So Miami got him. Exactly. So it is what it is. Though, like I said, though, when I look into TJ Parker, I'm seeing his strengths. I'm seeing maybe why. Now, IGB. I disagree. Listen, here's what I think about IGB. I wasn't happy in first, but when I went and saw this guy's film, when I went and saw this guy's measurable, 6'2", 190 pounds. I love tall corners. I love them. I think those are the best out there, man, for me. The guy runs a 4.4, I believe, so he has speed, height. He's very physical. And what else is he good at, Dan? Against the run. He's a really good tackler as well. So a very sticky man defender. 2024, he had a lot of, obviously, PIs. But if you go in 2025 season, he dropped that drastically, right? And I respect a player that works on his craft, understands what he needs to fix, and he corrected it. And I think he'll correct it at the next level. When you look at last year for IGB, 300 pass coverage snaps, 0 touchdowns allowed, 2 interceptions, 6 pass deflection, and 42.6 passer rating allowed. Those are excellent numbers. Those are very good numbers. That's nothing to shit on, right? And then we go to Maxwell Harrison. Look, man, I don't think that's stamped as CB2 like a lot of people do. I don't. I think Maxwell Harrison, look, he got hurt last year to start camp, Dan. Sean McDermott felt like he just wasn't really caught up to speed, right? We didn't even know if we were going to see him at all during the regular season. He got in. He made some splash plays here and there, but then he got hurt again. Right? For me, you got a new coaching staff in here, right? This isn't McDermott. This is Jim Leonard and coaching staff. We don't know what's going to happen during the course of training camp. We don't know if IGB is a better fit for Jim Leonard or outplays Maxwell Harrison, or if Maxwell Harrison even survives training camp without getting hurt again. So that's where I'm going with that. I wouldn't necessarily say IGB is CB3 right away, and that's how it's going to go. But like, that's my opinion.
So you would have traded up for a cornerback, right? So
I wouldn't have
traded up for him. Yeah. So
Yeah.
here's my deal, right? Like, I am great with bringing in competition. I'm great with like Beane going out and saying, hey, like we drafted a cornerback because if y'all remember, right, in recent playoff losses, like we lost because we had to put Dane Jackson in there. We had to put so-and-so in there, which is absolutely true. And I get that. but that is just so situational to me, right? It's such a situational move where, look, like Bean, like you've had so much success in drafting DBs on day 3, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where we could have very easily went on ahead and just got like Malik Muhammad from Texas on day 3, who also has incredible measurables. We could have done that, and like we could have invested right within like our biggest weakness on the defensive side of the football. And like when you look at how teams like to run at us, over 50% of where so the running backs went was the A and the B gaps. Correct. So like, like sometimes so they would attack the outsides, but luckily with Shaq Thompson and same thing with Milano, we're very good at like protecting like that edge. Where they got screwed up was right in the interior, right in the middle of the damn field. So like I was like, look, and so I get where your heart is at, where like, hey man, like we want to go on ahead and like find depth. Maybe Max Harrison's not going to work out. I just would have saved that pick for like day.
I'm with you. That was the head scratcher, and I'm not disagreeing with that. That's the one move where I was like, I don't understand why you would need. You could have waited on that. I was a little bit of a head scratcher, but I still, when I evaluate a play, I still got to go. When I'm done and go, okay, here's maybe why or what they're seeing, and I still think it's not necessary. I'm not going to just say that he's a depth guy. I still feel like he could get the opportunity to potentially be CB2 and beat out Harrison, or Harrison just kind of gets hurt again or whatever happens. But I understand your point. I'm with you on that. But what I feel like too, if you look at this draft, the rest of the guys, every single guy pretty much on the defensive side, or moving forward, right? So Parker, IGB, Orr, and Kilgore, they're excellent against the run, right? What I feel like this 3-4 defense and what he's setting up in Leonard is he's going to stack boxes with these athletic guys that can go east to west, north to south. They can cover everywhere. They're also guys with speed, and they play with aggression. So I don't think running, like I feel like our run defense is going to be better because of that. I really do. I know we don't have the nose tackle that we wanted. I get that. For some reason, they really think that Walker is the guy for now. But I think what their plan is to just kind of stack boxes, have guys with ultra athletic, speed and aggression. And all these guys, when I look at all these guys that we drafted, the one thing that stands out is their speed and their aggressiveness. They're all good tacklers. They're all super aggressive. If you look at Orr, that dude is like plays with his hair on fire. Like that dude is like he's on another level. Kilgore as well. Like Kilgore's another guy that just he's a guy that just goes out to hurt you, right? Yeah. And he has speed. So I feel like I'm going to trust in Leonard's defense. Because they're involved in this. This isn't about Beane. I tell people all the time, Beane's not locking himself in a room and making these draft picks. This is a collective effort. He clearly, you know what I mean? He clearly went to, what I mean? Talk to Leonard. Yeah. What do you want here? What's your vision? Does this player fit what you want or what you're looking for? And I'm going to trust the process. And I'm going to trust and Jim Leonard, since I wanted Leonard here as DC, right? If he doesn't believe you need a nose tackle, and this is the way he's going to stop the run because that's when our weakness is, then I'm going to go with it. Now you got to show it me. That's it. So, Dan, anything else? Because I know you got to go soon. We've been on almost an hour. So, what's your grade overall grade? You said C+. I give it a B. For now.
Yeah. Like as far as the draft, sort of how I look at it. So objectively speaking, once free agency was over, I feel like a lot of us were in agreement that like the 2 biggest needs or 3 biggest needs for this team was a nose tackle, was a linebacker, and then maybe a wide receiver. We walked away with like one guy that I'm like, okay, he's definitely going to get 70 to 80% of the snaps, right? But like you said, maybe Leonard, maybe that's a part of his plan. One thing I will say that Buffalo is to add either Shaq Thompson, bring him back as a linebacker, or DJ Reader. And so a nose tackle is still available, or Campbell, like one of the two. Then I'll probably feel a lot better about the draft. However,
Okay, that's fair.
Collectively, when I end up looking at this offseason, I loved free agency. I love the DJ Moore trade. I love day 3 of the NFL drafts. I'd probably give this Buffalo Bills offseason a B+. Very close to an A-.
I like that. Also, too, I didn't forget to mention DJ Moore technically is a second-round pick. Was our second-round pick, too. So
he is technically a second-round pick, which does make it better. Yeah, which does.
Right.
Yeah,
so really, technically, our first second-round pick was DJ Moore. So Skyler Moore, real quick before we get out of here, what do you think about Skyler?
So I think
Skyler
he's
Bell,
super,
not Moore. Sorry, Skyler Bell. Moore.
So I think he's super talented, but he's probably going to cause the fan base to put me in into a mental asylum.
Okay.
Right over 50% of his receptions last year were screens.
Correct.
So
I
think he's hyper talented. He can get downfield, right? He can make big contested catches. But what I'm about to go through, and so as a content creator of watching Joe Brady call a million screens for him, I'm going to be pulling my fucking hair out. I love Skyler Bell. You will too. But you guys are about to be really annoying about how many screens he's about to take. He's good at them, though. He's good at them. He's
very good.
Yeah, 7 to 8 yards a clip type thing.
His speed shows on field.
Yeah.
Right. It's just not about sometimes people get that confused. 40 time doesn't always go onto the field, right? Like when actual gameplay. So he shows the speed on the field.
Yeah.
So I will say, looking at his film breakdown with Steve Smith, there's a lot of things I like about him. He's more than just a bubble screen kind of receiver. He could do a lot. He's a good route runner. And he didn't have the best quarterback play in UConn either. So he's a guy I would watch for as well. They decided, they feel strongly about Keon Coleman still, Dan. So seems like he's staying put. Supposedly they had calls on him. So, right now for me, there's still some receivers out there. There's a couple free agents that I wouldn't hate coming here. As far as receiver goes, that they could take a flyer on that I feel like could still help his team. There's a defensive tackle couple, like you said, Reeder and Campbell.
So I know we feel a certain type of way about Keon Coleman and Josh Palmer, but one thing I'll say, Bills Mafia, and there are a lot worse wide receiver 4 and 5s out there.
Oh, absolutely.
There are a lot worse wide receiver 4 and 5s out there. I think we are really, really well positioned. We look at Keon and we look at Josh Palmer from last year, and we have that right in our minds of, they suck. Maybe they sucked in their responsibility last year, but as a 4 and a 5, it's a really good wide receiving room.
Yeah, I'm not hating it at all. I think we're this roster is shaping out to be pretty good. Like Dan said, does it hurt to add a nose tackle to make him feel a little bit better going to the season?
No.
Extra linebacker. I'm not totally sold on Joe Andreessen.
Jack Thompson, Reeder, or when Calais Campbell comes back.
Yeah, exactly.
My entire mindset changes about this draft.
I'm with you. I am totally with you. And if they don't, I'll be honest with you, you don't get a nose tackle or whatever. It just seems like that's just not. It's not a McDermott thing. This is floating over to Leonard.
It's not really like a modern day football thing anymore either. You really don't see your traditional nose to nose tackle anymore.
Right. And maybe that's what they're going for.
And plus, you look at so you look at where Leonard came from, and I understand he was only responsible for the secondary last year, but when you look at the front 7 in Denver, they were known for having the most undersized line in the league, and their nose tackle was 6'1", 300 pounds. So maybe he didn't have any interest in that kind of nose tackle. Maybe that's all a part of his plan.
Yeah. That's why I'm kind of leaning towards it is that he's going with this. Let's get younger, which I love. Let's have guys that are super athletic and that are good tacklers, aggressive. Because I feel like that's what this defense is going to be: fast and aggressive, and stacking the box and just kind of doing a lot of shifting on that line. You're going to see a lot of different looks compared to what you've seen in years past under McDermott, who was kind of just stuck in the 4-3. There wasn't a lot of change. There wasn't a lot of exotic looks. I feel like you're going to see a lot of exotic looks, exotic blitzes. You're going to see more linebacker blitzes. McDermott just never really did that. So I'm excited. I am. So Dan, guys, you guys know Dan Mitchell. But look, if you don't, Dan, where can they find you?
Guys, y'all can find me at Real Dan Mitchell on every single platform. X, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, you name it. Just come hang out. Just come hang out, man. We have Tommy on the show all the time.
Yeah, dude. Good dude, man. And he's always giving you updates every day, sometimes within every other hour. So go on to his page. Subscribe and hit the notification bell. That's where you know when Dan's going live, man. So we appreciate you guys rocking with us today. And I will be back on Friday at 8 p.m. for Friday Night Lights. And then also tomorrow is Mafia Talk at 8 p.m. on the channel. So thank you guys once again. Bills Mafia, we love you. And as always, go Bills. Peace.
Go Bills.
There it is.
Just